Well, I'm glad that Sean came up before I did. I was afraid he wasn't going to get here fast enough and I'd have to come up here because I don't like to follow this guy. What an amazing, see, it didn't work. If you wouldn't look at me, it'd help. He is just such an amazing person. And I would say to all of you, read his books and then read them again. You won't want to put them down. They're just absolutely amazing because he's an amazing man. And as he pointed out, it's these lessons learned that have driven the things that Tim does. And wouldn't we like to be able to say the same thing? So thank you. It was perfect. And now we're going to hear from our new state senator who does all kinds of good things. You know, every once in a while you just have some legislators that you look at them and you know you can count on them. And that's my good friend, Jake Anderegg.
Thanks, Jan. Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I hope everyone can hear me. I may not even need the microphone, but I wanted to talk today a little bit, and I think that what our Attorney General Sean Reyes and both Tim Ballard, they both hit on things that I think dovetail and lead into this, segue into this very nicely. One of the things that Tim Ballard talked about is wicked legislation and things that may be very problematic. I think he's referring in essence to Ephesians when chapter 6 where it talks about spiritual wickedness in high places. How many of you, and I think this ties in with what Sean Reyes was saying about opiate addiction, how many of you think that there is any value, medicine, in marijuana? How many of you think that there is no medicinal value in marijuana? Okay, so I'm just going to tell it just like it is. I don't know. I don't know. We have anecdotal evidence that there is value. So I was having this conversation with Gail, 5-6 months ago, and I happen to have an ER doctor as a sister-in-law. And I have to tell you that I've replaced Senator Mark Madsen, arguably very, very good senator, but very libertarian, very much thinking, that medicinal marijuana. When we say medical marijuana, that brings this connotation. He ran the bill of medical marijuana, which there were two bills that came up. One was Mark Madsen's bill that said, hey, we should go ahead and use this. There are issues that this could help, PTSD, chronic pain, seizures, and up and down the line. And the second bill that was put out by Senator Evan Vickers and co-sponsored or led by Representative Brad Daw said, hold up. There might be medicinal value, but we have to do more research. We have to know. And so I'm sitting down at a Sunday dinner. We're at my parents' house, and I've got my sister-in-law there, and we start talking about medical marijuana. Why? Because at my house and my parents' house, we talk about politics. And we talk about God, and we talk about faith, and we talk about religion, and we talk about the things that are of value in this world. And as I'm sitting there talking with my sister-in-law, she opens my eyes. And she says, what is the single biggest problem, and this dovetails with what Sean Reyes was saying, as far as drugs go in the state? It's opiates. And it's not heroin to begin with. It's prescription drugs. How are we doing with doctors being the gatekeepers as prescription drugs? How are we doing? But that is exactly what medical marijuana, the full-fledged bill that Senator Madsen was running, would do. And so my sister-in-law said, Jake, with opiates and with all the other drugs that have gone through the trials, I know as a doctor that given someone's age, weight, height, general physical condition, metabolism, that I need to prescribe X amount for such a period of time for these conditions. And the problem we have with medical marijuana, I'm going to use that term medical, is it connotes or it denotes that there has been determined value placed, medicinal value placed on marijuana. Meaning, we know as a doctor, as she said to me, that we should prescribe X amount for this period of time, given your weight, height, age, general physical condition, for these ailments for this period of time. And if you do that, we also know that the side effects are going to be X, Y, and Z. And guess what? Right now, we don't know any of that. We don't know any of that. So beware of the messaging in the label, medical marijuana. I have to be honest with you. There may be medicinal value. But how do we know? So the answer is as plain as the nose on all of our faces. How will we know if there is medicinal value? Yell it out. Study. Empirical evidence. Research. We have to know. Why do we have to know before we just launch full-fledged into this? Number one, because we're already using doctors as the gatekeepers, and I don't think we're doing a very good job. Number two, because marijuana does inhibit, does alter your ability to function. It inhibits you. Number three, for what causes, for what purposes, for how long? And if you're on it for X amount of time, what does that do to the ancillary parts of your body, your lungs, or your liver, or your kidneys? We don't know. So yeah, we may have helped your chronic pain, but you're going to die in 5 years because your kidneys are shot. I just threw something on the ground there, sorry. So the point is this, we don't know. We will see 2 competing bills coming up this year. And I don't want to label medical marijuana as evil, because the truth is, I don't know. But I do know this, that with such a law as what Senator Madsen was proposing, with the full free reign and the use of the entire plant and all the chemicals associated with it to experiment to see how it helps, I know this for certain, that wicked people will exploit it. Absolutely, they will exploit it. So I believe 100% that we need to use wisdom and prudence when we delve into medical marijuana. And I'm just going to go ahead and challenge each and every one of you right now, with all of your friends, neighbors, and associates, that whenever this topic comes up, make it very clear there still is no medicine yet proven in marijuana. There is anecdotal evidence. So-and-so went and used it in Colorado and it helped them for XYZ. Well, okay, but can you duplicate that across the entire populace? I don't know. Can you? And what are the side effects? Certainly there are certain chemicals in medical marijuana that certainly help chemotherapy patients get their appetite back. That's already been proven. Certainly there are medicinal benefits with CBD oils in helping to prevent seizures, but here's the problem with that. It has helped, but nobody can determine conclusively why. And until we know why, we also don't know if there are other medicinal uses it might have. To that effect, I do know that my friend, Representative Daw, will be running with Senator Evan Vickers a marijuana bill that is not, hey, let's go ahead and use it and see how it works, but will say, hey, we have one of the premier research facilities in the nation at the University of Utah. Let's go ahead and do the research. And let's do it so that it follows the FDA guidelines, so that when and if it changes at the federal government from a Schedule I controlled substance, that we can turn and say, well, here's the evidence. And we have proven that it works for this and this and this and this and this, because we've done the research. But until that time, there is no medical about marijuana. Proven, effective. Every single time it's going to have this effect. And so the problem we have is I'm talking with my sister-in-law. She's just like, as a doctor, with the liability and the litigious nature, there is no way on this green earth I am going to prescribe it. I'm just not going to, because I don't want complications. I don't want things where all of a sudden I'm going to get hit with a major lawsuit. And the problem is that's reality. That's what doctors are facing every single day. And so if we're going to introduce a brand new drug, it's not new. Marijuana's been around a long time, okay? But if we're going to start calling it medical, we need to be sure of what that means and how it's going to affect our society. We also really need to evaluate how well we're doing with opiates and if we can follow that same pathway for determining access. I think that's why certain very prominent organizations, the LDS Church, decided that they couldn't get behind Senator Madsen's bill last year. Not that they want people to suffer, not that they want anybody to not be able to get the medicine they need, but we have to verify its medicinal value. Anything short of that is going off half-cocked and is not done in wisdom or prudence. And as a legislator, I believe it is our responsibility to make sure before we just say, let's go. And to that end, I will be supporting my friend's bill, at least the version I've read so far. And I want to look at it all. I've learned from experience you don't paint yourself in a quarter with people's legislation. And I've also learned that a piece of legislation will go through 12 iterations before you have a chance to vote on it on the floor. So read the bills, right? But in that context, I fully support looking at the research and seeing what we might be able to do. And I fully acknowledge that in taking that stance, it may delay people getting access for 3, 5, 10 years. But that's what we need to do to make sure that we're not heading full-hearted down a path that we cannot retract. Thank you very much, and it has been an honor to be here. And if you have any questions for me, shoot me an email on my legislative email, jandereg@le.utah.gov. Thank you very much.